What's going on, guys? It's JayzTwoCents. You're live here with Tech Talk, and if it isn't just in usual fashion at the very last minute, XSplit or my computer or YouTube or somebody just wants to make sure that I am the tech guru that I am because they want to throw these curveballs at me to where you can't hear my guest, which happens to be Redneck. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, Jay?
So go ahead and throw me your oh my god, people.
Oh my god, people.
It's Redneck here. And there's no video, which you guys might notice because unfortunately, being the new computer nerd that he's becoming, his internet connection just won't allow video and audio at the same time. For now, though.
Yep, for now.
Where do you live again exactly? I don't recall.
Alabama, way out in the sticks. So, unfortunately, the best I have in my area is DSL, which is like 1.5 down. And the upload, the upload's really bad, like a quarter meg. And it just don't allow... If I could do
I
the
remember
video,
when DSL was like the shit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had, to put this in perspective, lived in Georgia 10, 12, 14 years ago. I had better DSL then than I do now. So,
looking at the streams here to make sure audio's working, video's going. It should be audio synced. I've been working my ass off on that since, God, all of a sudden, you know, XSplit updated itself and then they said, hey, we've updated the way sound works and the drivers work, and then next thing I knew I had a half-second delay between talking and the audio, and so people were having a hard time watching because of that. But I think we've got it dialed in, so let me know. If you guys are here because you followed Redneck, I'm JayzTwoCents. I am YouTube's newest computer nerd, and that's what I do, and I'm converting people like Redneck one day at a time over to the master race of PC.
Absolutely.
We've got a few things we want to talk about today. I can't even count how many times I've been asked and tweeted about my opinion on the Xbox One versus the PS4 versus old hardware and PCs. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about NVIDIA's quiet launch of their new 700 series graphics card. I've threatened to rename this stream so many times to GPU Talk with JayzTwoCents because that seems to be the only thing people ask about.
Yeah.
And we've got some, of course, EA just coming out with some retarded statements like they've been so known for in the past. And we're going to go ahead and get things started here. Just dive right in to the Xbox One. Now, Redneck, I watched your video about it, and I agree 100% with everything that you said.
Yeah. And,
you know, I don't know why they call it a console, because it's not. It's a DVR media device that can play new games. That's the way I feel about it.
Exactly. And if I can jump in there for just a moment, this is coming from a console warrior. You know, consoles. Everybody knows consoles have always lagged behind PC, and a lot of us thought pure console gamers, well, like I once was. We used to think that one day Xbox or Sony or somebody will put up enough money and make a console that is really, you know, caught up with PCs when it comes to processing power and graphics. And a lot of us had our hopes up for these new next-gen consoles. We kept thinking, oh man, we're finally going to be like on the heels, on the cusp of being toward that PC elite status with our consoles. And that has just not happened.
Yeah, you know, I really understand where they're going, where they're trying to make it, you know, a smart device. I really do. Yeah. But you know, what's ironic is back in, I think, October, I did a Tech Addiction where I talked about Xbox filing a patent to be able to have the intellectual property and owning the images that are captured by Kinect, where they want to be able to say, just because Kinect's in your house, anything it broadcasts into the console belongs to Microsoft to do with whatever they want. And that was kind of a scary thought, just the whole concept of Big Brother, and if whether or not you're into conspiracy theories or not, just the fact of having a camera always on in your house connected to the internet's a scary thought. When I'm not online, I turn off my webcam. I don't want to end up like iFlyandI. If you guys don't know who that is, go and look that one up.
Woo!
But you know, I just don't want anybody, whether it be hackers, Microsoft, whatever, to have access to my camera. But now that the Kinect is required to use your Xbox, and the fact that it's always going to be on when the Xbox is on, and it's basically a smart remote that always has to be there.
Yep.
It just really has me wondering, is somebody going to be on the other end of that Kinect just watching you?
It deeply bothers me because, a while back, there was a story that came out that there was a super program, and you probably have heard this story, that basically this program was able to use people's computers and even their cell phones, supposedly, they're the smart devices, to be able to get a hold of certain documents and see what was going on through people's built-in webcams and microphones through this virus, this program. And I was blown away by that. That was the first time I heard of something like this. So the possibility is definitely there.
Oh yeah. I do like advancement of technology. I mean, I ever since I was a little kid have honestly been into just all things digital, automated, and I'm all about automation. In fact, the house I live in is 45 years old, so it's a bit behind the times, but I have a friend that is moving into a brand new house later this year. It's being built as we speak, and it's coming built in with server rooms, and every room is wired with fiber optic and Cat5, and it has he's going to have me install a home automation server where everything is going to be computer controlled. The TVs, the fireplace, the AC, every aspect of the house is going to be controlled through a smartphone. So it brings in, the idea of hacking someone's house, automated door locks even. And that's something I did a tech addiction on a little bit later in the year last year about home automation and a whole new level of hacking.
Yeah.
And it's almost like just the fact that Xbox is going to always be connected in this fashion, even though they say internet connection is not required, like a lot of us were really worried about.
Yeah.
Let's face it, to do everything it's going to do, you do have to have it always connected. With it always connected means that audio video signal is just always going, and that really does terrify the hell out of me. I had a lot of people basically say, "Hey Jay, chill out," when I was complaining about that there was just no real excitement for the gaming on the console. They didn't really show anything that was truly next gen as far as I see it. In fact, I was really, really let down with the graphics of the new NFL and NBA.
Yeah.
It did not look good.
I thought it could have looked a lot better. And to be honest with you, when I saw those, it almost, my initial thought was, well, this is something I would expect to see from this fall's games on current gen consoles, because the difference between, I didn't see the difference between current and what I thought would be coming next year if it was just a regular console. Like it looked almost like, well, that's normal. It should be that 1 year progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it definitely didn't look like anything that's allowing them to, or disallowing them from going backwards compatible.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to read on Xbox Live their Q&A. It was like the 20 most asked questions after the event, and they answered them.
Yeah.
And one of the things they asked was about backwards compatibility, and they gave this, bullshit answer about, well, in order for us to bring you a whole new generation in gaming, we had to do a whole new generation in hardware. That's like computer developers saying, sorry, in order to play our game, you've got to buy a new Intel processor. It's just not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. And when it comes to the drive, the drive is more than capable of going backwards compatible. I only know that because of the fact that I'm in software development, and it's just another way for them to require you to buy it if you want to get.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And what I think is, real quick, what I think is interesting is everyone getting so excited about Call of Duty Ghosts. I'm not a Call of Duty fan. I never have been. I had a really hard time getting into Black Ops 2, and I never did. But everyone's so excited about Ghosts, and it's like, well, wait a minute. They announced Ghost on the launch of the new platform. So if you're not planning on buying Xbox One, chances are you're not getting Ghost. So have people? Nobody's really mentioned that. I'm going to be shocked if Ghosts is available on 360.
Yeah, it's supposedly, now this is what I know. Call of Duty Ghosts will be multi-platform launch. Whether or not it's the same date, whether that part I don't know yet, but I know for a fact it will be supposedly brought to the Xbox 360. Obviously PC, obviously the new Xbox, and same with PlayStation, the new and old system. But they didn't say if it would be the same day though, because that part I'm wondering, because in the past, you know, when we went from 360, I mean, from the Xbox to the Xbox 360, there were some games that launched that were not available on both platforms at the same time, you know, the same day. So,
well, I mean, people are clarifying, saying that it is going to be out on 360. Unfortunately, it's obviously not going to take advantage of any of the, you know, 4-year-old lighting technology that they finally adopted from PC.
Yeah,
you know, on that console. But I don't know. I have no excitement for it. I have no intentions of buying it. I thought about buying it. Honestly, because of the multimedia aspect of it, because I thought, well, you know what, I could get rid of my Xbox 360 and I can get rid of my Blu-ray player and have one device that can do, you know, both.
Yeah.
Until they said no backwards compatibility, which was well before their launch.
Yeah.
Which immediately turned me off. And then once I watched everything that they were boasting about it, I'm okay. I like football, but I'm more of like a highlights. I catch up on highlights. I don't have time, and my lifestyle doesn't allow me to sit down and watch a 2.5 hour, 3 hour game.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in being able to, you know, minimize the live TV and see all those stats pop up, because I don't watch a lot of live TV anyway. I'm a recorded TV guy.
Yeah.
The Skype aspect of it, I'm at my computer all the time anyway.
You know, speaking on that Skype aspect, there's a lot of people that have TVs that can do almost everything the console is doing, that they're planning on doing with the console in November. I mean, you look at Apple TV and some of these other different nicer brand televisions. I mean, they can basically do everything to an extent that the console is going to do.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, one of my coworkers, he has Skype on his TV.
Oh yeah, so does mine.
Yeah, you know, so that as far as, and if you look at the steps that Microsoft took, you could see this coming.
Yeah.
You know, with them buying out Skype, even the stuff on the controller that they've changed, like the people said the thumbsticks look different.
They do.
They do. But if you look at if you take a picture and look at the MW3 edition thumbsticks and compare it to the new console thumbsticks, they're the exact same except for that rough looking stuff around the edges. Right. As far as the way the ring looks, and it has a little pointy drop off in the middle. So there's a lot of things that have changed over the past year or two, just to basically as add-ons. They think, well, it's not really so much about the hardware as if we're just going to get all this stuff and throw it in a crock pot, and ta-da! Here's your new console. We don't give you Skype.
That's what it feels like. And like you mentioned in your video too, it almost looks like they're leaving room for a little, you know, keyboard in there.
Yeah.
What'd you call it? A chat pad or something like that?
Yeah, like that. You know, the controller looked really left wide open. And another thing that bothers me about the games, as far as backward compatibility, that bothers me, but I can get over that. But I got thousands of dollars in Astro gaming headsets and different controllers. And
now, is there a reason why that stuff wouldn't work?
As of right now, from what I know, for example, if I plug in my Astro A40s, okay, the way it stands now, they use the optical cable out. So I got the optical running from the Xbox to the mix amp.
Right.
And then for the mix amp, I got my headset with a mic built in, and I have another cable that's the chat cable from the mix amp to my controller. Well, the problem with the new controller is they've changed the headset input thingy. I forgot what you call that. So
yeah, that little tiny jack.
Yeah, that's completely changed, and it looked like it was a really huge port. So I would assume, this is assume, you know what assume means, but I would assume somebody will make an adapter to it so that would work. But
well, yeah, I would be surprised if someone didn't, because it's just a simple left-right, 4-wire connection. Actually, I guess technically it's only a 2-wire connection because it's a mic. But yeah, so I'm getting quite a few people both on Twitter and in the chat that are saying to talk about the fact that they're going to be using server-side processing to make up for its lack in computing power. I don't know much about that. I didn't hear about that, but It sounds like a lot like what NVIDIA is doing with the Shield.
Well, let's do this. And before anybody jumps the gun, I'm definitely not. I'm not a fan. I'm a fan, not really a fanboy, but I'm an avid gamer. And when the PlayStation 4 came out, I did a live stream, kind of bashing some of the stuff I thought was dumb with that system. And that's all we're doing with this. We're just talking about the problems that we see now.
Yeah.
So let's backtrack to, since we don't talk about that, let's backtrack to the actual processor and the RAM.
Do we know exactly what those specs are yet? I don't think they announced it, did they? Are we talking about PS4 or Xbox One?
Xbox One. I'm certain I heard 5 gigs of, was it 5 gigs of RAM or 8 gigs?
I'm pretty sure it's 8 gigs of GDDR5, which is going to be a lot like what PS4 is doing because it's got integrated graphics. It doesn't have a discrete graphics on there.
Mm-hmm.
So the system RAM, just like PS4, may be sharing the GDDR5. And this is the tech talk part of the channel I'm going to get into right here because I've seen it all over my videos. I've done some RAM videos lately. People asking, what's the difference between DDR3 and GDDR5? And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know real quick what the differences are and why it makes a difference to the console. Okay, DDR3 only has a 32-bit controller in it. Okay, and the 32-bit controller is it's the memory amount times the bit times the lanes. So, for instance, in DDR3, if you've got a 32-bit memory controller, and you've got that gets you your bus or your total bit. So you've got graphics cards that have 384-bit memory bus width. You've got 192, 256. You've got a whole bunch of different bus widths. GDDR for graphics cards is much, much faster than system RAM. However, they're having to handle a lot more complex information going through the GPU at one time than the CPU is. So GDDR5 is good, but it has much narrower memory bus width. So that's why you have so much more memory bus inside of a GPU than you do inside of a CPU because there's many more lanes of memory. So you may only have 30. I got that backwards. I'm sorry. DDR3 is 64. GDDR5 is 32. But you've got more lanes of memory to handle that information. Now, DDR4 is going to be coming out for CPUs probably near Haswell, if not sometime shortly thereafter. But your CPU doesn't actually need that type of memory bandwidth. Now, what they're doing with the new gen consoles is they are taking the GDDR5 and they are incorporating it into the processor for every aspect of the console. But think about what the console is. It is ultimately just a giant display output. So people have already, I've seen those battles going on in my videos about the difference between, oh, well, the next console is going to have GDDR5, so it's better than PC. And that could be where EA was going with their statement that we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people were saying the Xbox One has well, someone says GDDR3, but DDR3. If so, then they're using system RAM. I'd like to know what integrated graphics they're using.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
From what I've read about the cloud, supposedly with use of the cloud system, it's going to allow them to basically give an unlimited amount of, I guess you say, how do I put this? Basically, they're going to use a cloud and use it with the processing ability. So,
yeah.
And suppose there's no limit with what they can do having the cloud as a backup. I don't know, but
now the question I have is processing of what?
Exactly. That's like where I get completely lost.
Because if they require an additional processing of whatever games you're using, then yes, it does require an always-on connection.
Yep.
Even for single player.
Absolutely.
Now they came out in that Q&A statement that said that the always-on connection is not required for certain game modes, and there's certain features of Xbox One that are only available with an always-on connection. I kind of have a feeling it's going to be a lot like Apple did with Siri, where all of the processing side of the input goes onto the server and then is thrown back a result.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that may be a lot like what's going on with the Kinect and the gestures and all of that thing, where the processing of what it sees and hears will be done in the cloud, and then a command to the console sent back. So I'm wondering if all of those gestures that they were boasting about is going to require always on.
One, I would think so. Like I really would think that's the case.
That you know, one of the questions that was on that Q&A too was about power consumption. If the device is considered always on and ready, and it just goes into a power save mode or like a sleep mode, what's that going to do to your power bill? And they talked about, you know, it goes into a low consumption state where, you know, it's always listening, and then you can wake it up by voice and such. I really think that there's going to be a lot more required connection-wise than they're really letting on to.
It worries me because as of right now, my connection is bad.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't recall. I own Xbox and Xbox 360, but I don't recall if 360 is backwards compatible with the original Xbox.
No, I don't think it is.
But you know what? So there's a lot of people saying backwards compatibility is what's going to kill Xbox. That's, I guess, not really a true statement then if it didn't stop the original growth.
What it allows them to do when it's and this is, it comes to my side and my background, when it's not backwards compatible, what it allows them to do is take a game you've already paid for once and sell it to you again. And you say, well, that's a dumb business model, but it works. Yep. People do it. People do it. Halo has proved that. I mean, look at the people buying Halo CE. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, it sold plenty of copies, and you know, you see the greatest hits. I mean, why sell you something that you can use every previous game you've had on? I mean, you know, from a business standpoint of purely making money and about stock, there you go.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about making money? How about the fact that you've got to pay a fee to use your game on someone else's console, whether it's in your same house or not?
Yeah, and I went off on that because in my house, you know, I got a 14-year-old son. You know, he has his stuff in his little playroom. Wife and daughter got their stuff, and they're in their area they like to chill out at. And I got a 10-year-old. Well, based on what I've seen, I just don't know if I'm gonna buy both the new consoles at launch. Not even one of them, much less 4 of them.
Right.
You know, so I
only own one right now. I had an Xbox 360 about 6 months after launch, and I owned it for a few years, and then I went probably 2-3 years without an Xbox, and I just recently got one again, probably around February-ish, which kind of feels... Well, once they said they were bringing it out later this year, I felt a little less bad about buying it, because I thought, well, I just dumped, $300 on this, and now it's going to be old. Yeah. But the wife likes to use it. She likes to use the Kinect for a lot of the workout stuff. She uses it as like a workout helper. You know, when days we don't go to the gym. And I was like, man, so I don't want to buy another Xbox 360, and I definitely don't want to buy a One and have a 360. So I don't know what I want to do, especially when, if I'm in a situation like yours when my daughter's older, if I'm going to want her to have her own game system, if I want to put a disc in her Xbox and go and use it, or God forbid one of mine breaks and I got to go use someone else's, then I felt the smart way they could have handled this would have been IP based. But then again, you deal with a lot of college campuses and a lot of public domains that all share an IP and have internal intranet. Then they would be skirting the system. So it's, I don't know. I almost feel like they've got to look at this in some way where maybe you can register and link certain accounts together if they're the same name. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. If the one thing that's keeping PC gaming from completely putting the consoles market out of business is the ability to play with friends. Yeah. I don't know if Steam tries to do it. I mean, there's this. If somebody can come out with a program that would allow the ease of being able to talk to friends within that program, and somebody's gonna say, well, we already got that, Redneck, but really allows you to invite friends in the game lobbies, invite and talk to people within the system, like me and you're doing right now through Skype. If, for example, somebody wants to play Minecraft, you have to. Right now, about Minecrafters, you even have to host a server yourself, which means most young teens have to figure out how to do that, and most of them can't. Right. Or you have to buy a server, which most of them don't have the money, or their parent don't have the money to pay a monthly fee for a server. So, and there's this that PC is lacking
that friendship and fun time with friends. If somebody ever figures out how to make it happen as the way the consoles have, you're going to see the end of console gaming.
Well, you know, consoles do come with the integrated community and the voice chat and all of that such. In fact, let's put it this way. Battlefield 2, which was one of my favorite shooter games of all time, even though I played shooters going back to 91 and, you know, Castle Wolfenstein, Battlefield 2 had built-in voice chat, and it was great. Battlefield 3 came out October of 2011. No integrated voice chat whatsoever. But then again, they moved over to the Origin system. You know, they just recently added an in-game voice chat to that game a year and a half later.
I say, to me, that just that blows me away. Like, what are you thinking? Like, why was that not day one? You know,
especially when it was on the previous Battlefields, Battlefield 2 and Bad Company, they had voice. And even if it was on the Steam system where you could communicate with your friends on Steam at the same time.
Do you ever feel like it makes you want to say, why? Who made the decision, instead of progressing, to take a step back from a really likable, usable feature?
I honestly feel the problem started when games started no longer self-publishing. When companies no longer started self-publishing, when they started having to deal with publishers like EA and Origin and Uplay, there's another voice in there, and they kind of you know, control the shots. When like the original Sims, when Maxis was controlling Sims, SimCity, The Sims 2, it was a great game. What happened when EA got involved? And, you know, I know what you do, and you know what I do. I work in software development, and I can tell you right now, I've seen it firsthand what happens when you let the developer do their thing, and you let it run the way that they feel it needs to run, versus when you have a publisher saying, we've got to hit this date, we've got to hit this date, we can't miss this date, we can't miss it, it's a hard date, it's not soft, we have to publish.
That's it.
That day comes, and it's not ready, it goes out hell or high water, and then you get like what happened with SimCity. And then EA becoming worst company in America, the CEO having to step down, and a game that I looked forward to, a game I played since my childhood that I've refused to buy, simply because of the publisher's involvement.
For the guys in the stream, and I'm going to tell you this is only accessible to the guys in the stream now, so think of yourself as, damn, I'm getting some inside info. I'm telling you right now, this is the word on the street. Call of Duty Ghost is behind. Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer, they are behind on their game. You're not going to see it on Twitter. You're not going to see it nowhere else. But the game is behind. And they are pulling out all the big guns to get this game within publishing date.
And you know what the reality of that is? I don't think there's been hardly any games that have ever been on time when it comes to that internal roadmap.
Yep.
I don't. My software development company, we don't even do games. We do proprietary software. We write software specifically to customer needs. I don't think we've ever hit a deadline.
Yeah.
That's the nature of programming.
Yep.
And so that's why I said what I said about publishers getting involved, because the publisher's not the programmer. They're just the ones sitting there saying, "Okay, we're going to put our name on it." You know, it's universal compared to, you know, the producer of a movie. And when they get involved and they've got their politics, they ruin the games as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they do, because, you know, it's when you put that time scale, when you put that date out there, there's, because you have to remember, yes, human beings make these games. Yeah. And there are certain things that come up. There are people that have to miss work, and some of these people are key position people that have to miss work. They might have illness, they might have death in the family. But when you have a team, a solid team, and you say you have a lead UI artist, or you have a lead environment artist, well, something happens to one of these people, and they have to be out of work for family reasons or whatever. Well, your best guy's not there. Well, guess what? You don't have another best guy. Like, that's your go-to guy, you know. And with the time scales of a new Call of Duty every year, and the way they're doing it now with each developer having basically a 2-year cycle. You know, the moment they get done with their game in November and it launches, they have a small group of guys that are supporting the current game, and they're already moving on to the next game cycle. And the data is on the wall. So these developers are in a lot of pressure because of, like you said, publishing companies and hard street dates. I mean, we used to have a project manager that worked for us. And I do quite a few things with our company. I do IT, I do support, I do sales, and I also do project management. We had a project manager for us, a senior project manager who came from an entirely different genre of project managing. He dealt more with construction than software development. So everything for him was hard date, hard date, hard date. And what's the one variable you can never account for in construction? The weather. The weather.
Right? So it's the most you have to worry about. And if you know you're in a certain region and a certain time of the year, things are fairly consistent. Software development, like you just said, is nothing like that. And he was so adamant about hard date, hard date. From the moment an idea was just conceived, it was, what's the hard date deliverable on this? It's like, I don't know, why don't we set a roadmap with a couple of soft date deliverables, and when we work with that. This guy, if we missed a soft date, he took it as if it was hard date, and it was so bad because things were rushed and we had software go out that just, it was a disaster. And a lot of people don't realize in these games and the way that they work is they're not huge teams of developers. They're not. They're a couple dozen usually working on these games. Yep. They'll look at the credits and they see this massive list, but that's everybody in every company hired to work on the game. Yeah. And a lot of these parts of the games are outsourced. So, like you said, you may have graphics designers, you may have storyboard, people who work with the story and the storyboard. You've got, hitbox engineers, you've got lighting technicians, and everybody holds a piece of this. It's like the military and the way the M1 tank is constructed. Yep. Everybody holds a different wrench, and they work on one part of that tank, and that's it. When their job's done, their job's done, and the whole project is dependent on the way these wheels rotate. And one person either leaves the company, gets sick, dies, everything gets thrown off track. And so, like you said, with Ghosts being behind, I'm not the least bit surprised, because that's the nature of the industry. I understand it from an inside perspective. And
and the sad part about the whole thing is let's say it's never caught up, it's still going to release the same date.
Yep.
They're just going to give you the finished game via updates.
That's the thing. Once the internet became much more an intricate part of the way the gaming experience is, it's become acceptable to release a non-finished game and say, okay, well, service pack or download DLC.
And in some cases, a broken game. Not even
SimCity.
Developers and publishers now, they're releasing games that are broken day one.
Yep.
And to me, that is just,
that's unacceptable.
Because you never find out that the game is broken until after you have it in your hands.
Yeah, it's not like you can try it before you buy it.
That's like I'm selling you a car, Jay. I'm a new dealership. Hey, it's your Cadillac, big boy. Here's the keys, paperwork, bam. I got the money. Yeah. You got the keys. You got the product. You pull out of the parking lot, and the transmission falls out of your Cadillac. You'd be like,
yeah.
Well, well, there's some issues with those cars, but...
You know what the sad reality of that is, though? In most states, you still have 3 days to take it back for lemon law. But games, the moment you purchase it, it's yours regardless.
Thank you. That is absolute truth. I'm going to get way off subject. I had a buddy of mine 1 year ago, bought his son. He asked me, he says, Scott, what's one of your favorite Call of Duty games ever? I said, World at War. For the campaign, the zombies, the multiplayer. That is one of my favorite Call of Duties. He said, well, I can get it for like $20 new. And I said, jump on it. He brings the game home. His kid first thing, because he's playing a few multiplayers, he plays multiplayer. And my buddy said, I'm watching my son play Call of Duty. And he's like, Dad, this guy's killing me, and I can't kill him back. He said, well, where is he, son? He said, he's flying around in the air. And so my buddy called me and said, how in the world is this like? He said, something's wrong with this. This game is hacked. This guy can't be killed, and I don't have no recourse. Like, there's nothing I can do to get my money back.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, another story. I had a friend that was diehard into World of Warcraft, right? Doesn't matter what kind of game you're into. If you're a gamer, you're a gamer.
Yep.
And a new expansion had come out, and he was really into. I drove him down to Target, and he was really into having the hard copy. He wasn't about download. He wants hard copies. He likes the boxes. Yeah. So we take him. We go down to Target, and we get home, and he's installing it on his laptop, and it was 2 discs. There was 1 disc missing. It was legitimately missing out of the box. So we go back to Target to try and see if they'll at least exchange it. But because it has a CD key, they wouldn't even exchange it. They said you've got to go through the manufacturer or the publisher.
Yeah.
So he couldn't even play his game. He had to contact Blizzard and deal with all that stuff. And at that time, I was like, whatever, I download it. I don't care about hard copies anymore. But it's just because you're dealing with intellectual property and you're dealing with electronic, consumer items. That's just the way it's dealt with. But let's go ahead and segue into what. But real quick, guys, I just want to say I'm watching the comments. I'm sure that Redneck is too. I'm watching Twitter. There's nearly 100 of you in here, and it is going to be very, very difficult to comment and respond to a lot of these. Now, I know you guys are used to Tech Addiction back in the beginning when I could respond to every single question. It's impossible now. So I'm just going to answer a couple of things real quick before we switch topics of people that are asking. One, am I going to get the GTX 780?
One thing, time out.
Yeah.
If you're in the stream and you have Twitter, tweet at Jay, tweet at me, and also include the link to the live stream. Let's get those numbers up a little bit. I'll do some retweeting. Let's try to get some friends in here.
I'm gonna put together a click to tweet real quick, and I'll put it in the description there.
Let's do that.
And while I'm doing that, I'm going to talk about real quick. I put out a video earlier in the year where I raged about the GTX Titan. And it was embellished a little bit because it's YouTube and I wanted the views. And the thing got 22,000 views and I'm happy about that. What I said was, and in fact, you know, let me finish this click to tweet. This is going to take a thought.
I'll reflect on that video because that was one of the videos from you that I've watched a lot. I thought the video was great. And I thought everything you said in the video made sense from a consumer standpoint. Like I get, one of the things that I do, and I've completely did it wrong when I first started buying parts and building my own PC. I started going cheap on the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. But now I look for, okay, what is the best deal I can get within my budget?
And real quick, guys, in the stream, if you look at the description now, I've updated it. There is a click to tweet. Click that, tweet it out. It's got Redneck's Twitter and mine and the stream. So let's see how many people we get in here. Let's break 100. Okay. So you were talking about cheaping out on the wrong parts?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've kind of learned my lesson on that. But I try to get the most bang for my buck.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. There's so many components out there. People just... I wish I could answer every single build people will send to me from their part picker and say, hey, Jay, how's this build? It would be a full-time job if I answered every single one of those. I'm trying, guys, but I'm not trying to be that whole, the YouTuber that doesn't respond. But shit if there ain't a lot of you. So, okay. GTX Titan. We're going to segue out of Xbox One a little bit here. If you guys missed it, I will be time-stamping the description at the end of the stream so you guys can go back and watch different parts of it. I talked about why the Titan pissed me the hell off. And here is why. You guys have heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again because the story hasn't changed. The 7970, which was the first 28-nanometer process GPU that came out and obliterated the market. It obliterated everything that NVIDIA had to offer at the time, single GPU-wise, the 580, and it was near the 590 performance. It was $550, and it came out in January of 2012. Okay. NVIDIA came out with the GTX 680, which was their Kepler card, in March 22nd, 2012. So almost 4 months later. Now, the first thing people did when they bought the NVIDIA GTX 680 was they noticed this is odd. There's generational improvements that have been happening like clockwork with NVIDIA since the 8800, 9800, the 280, the 480, the 580. There were certain things that just rolled over to the next card, and people noticed right off the bat, this is different. The 580 and every high-end card prior to that had a 8-pin power plug and a 6-pin power plug. Had a 384 memory bus. It had There was a certain length to it. There was a way the PCB was arranged. And the fact that they had talked about prior to the launch that it was going to be the GK110 chip, and GK106 was going to be given to the lower end of NVIDIA. So people took apart the card like they do the day they get them. All the reviewers, Linus and everybody did this. The first thing they saw printed on top of their GPU was GK106. And everyone went, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Wait a minute. GK110 is what we were promised. It was documented. NVIDIA showed the roadmap. GK110, GTX 680. So then people started digging a little bit deeper. And what these graphics cards manufacturers do is they encrypt their BIOS. They don't want people to go in and change their BIOS settings because that's the heart of the card.
Yeah.
So several people went in there who were very knowledgeable about this and reverse engineered the BIOS and yanked it out and looked at it through a BIOS viewer and a GUI. And they see GTX 660 Ti as the name of the card inside of the encrypted BIOS. So everyone went, whoa, wait a minute. 660 Ti, what the hell? So a lot of people called out NVIDIA, some big YouTubers, some big tech blogs. A lot of people called out NVIDIA, and NVIDIA came out and said, here's the deal. We don't have GK110 because it's being just bought up like crazy by server manufacturers, because it's also used in the Quadro cards. It's also used in a lot of server applications because it was just so powerful. So they said we couldn't get our hands on the GK110 like we needed to fill demand, so we gone ahead and went with GK106. But hey guys, guess what? It's beating the 7970, so yay. What more do you want? Okay, fine. So it kind of settled down. People stopped complaining about the fact that, okay, maybe because it's more power efficient, they didn't need 8-pin and 6-pin connector. They gave us this story about GDDR5, and the bandwidth was so much improved in the architecture that GK106 didn't need 384 memory bus, so 256 was fine. And there's 2 gigs of RAM versus 1.5 from the reference 580. So everyone looked at it and said, okay, it's an improvement. Maybe it just wasn't as big of an improvement as we thought. And it debuted at $499, the cheapest high-end NVIDIA card had ever put out. So let's go ahead and fast forward to December of 2012, 6 months ago. And AMD put out some teaser photos of the back of a PCB, 2 different PCB boards. You can't see the front, you just see the circuit board. And there's a single GPU and a dual GPU. Mm-hmm. And it was like really dark and hard to see, and it was faded, it was very artsy, and it just said something along the lines of soon, right?
Yeah.
Now, NVIDIA lost the race to 28 nanometer. By 4 months, their stock went down. They had to answer to their investors in investor meetings, and their investors said, we want to be next to the next generation. Beat AMD because that's what we're paying you to do. So NVIDIA said, okay, fine. When that picture came out, 1 week later, NVIDIA put out a teaser photo of a GTX logo and said it's coming, and then they sent out all kinds of invitations to the major tech blogs to go and check out their launch. The moment NVIDIA put out that invitation, AMD came out with another press release within a day and said, hey guys, we're going to come out with the 8000 series in Q3 2013. Thanks for looking. So here's what happened. AMD trolled NVIDIA and got them to tip off their card prior to actual launch. So AMD made NVIDIA think they were coming out with something, freaked them out to thinking they were going to lose the next generation race and lose that money again. Once they put out their invitation, they knew they couldn't back out.
Yeah.
So AMD said, oh, by the way, we've got another 9 months before we're going to do anything. So what does NVIDIA do? They say, oh my God, people, right?
Yeah, that's right. That is it.
They put their hands on their foreheads and they're going, okay, damage control, what do we do? Because they were going to launch the 700 series. I have no doubt about it. They were going to launch the 700 series. So what they do is they go ahead and they stop the production of what they were working on because they had to kick it into high gear. They say, okay, what do we got? They evaluate their card. They say, okay, here's the high end. It's GK110. This is how it's performing. And they say, okay, fine. Slap a nice cooler on it. Let's go ahead and call it a Titan because we don't want to attach it to any sort of generation. And let's go ahead and call it a boutique card, which is their own fucking word they use. I hate that word, that boutique card. We're going to put a $1,000 price tag on it. Call it special edition. $1,000, 1,000 cards. Let's do it. So that's what they launch. I'm pissed about it because it's $1,000. Once they said it was GK110, I was extra pissed because it was the card I was supposed to get a year prior.
That's right.
So Titan went out. Benchmarks were good. It was a beast. The thing is huge. generational gap-wise, it had everything that the 580 to the 680 should have been. 384-bit memory bus. It had 6 gigs of RAM. It had the GK110 and everything we were promised. So I simmered down a little bit and I said, okay, fine, I'll wait till see what NVIDIA has to offer. So then NVIDIA goes ahead and says that we're going to do something later in May. So they quietly released the 780 at a tech conference in China. Yeah. Not the United States, in China. At some sort of like an E3 type of event.
Almost like they were doing it in the darkness of night.
It was the softest release I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They usually do a big giant Apple-style keynote.
Yeah, that's right.
And they didn't do that. And guess what? It is the Titan PCB, and on the back you can even see where they didn't put the other 3 gigs of RAM because it's a 3 gig card. 384 memory bit bus, GK110, 8-pin plug, 6-pin plug, and it is 10% of the performance of Titan. Because what did they do? When they shut down performance of the Titan after they got trolled by AMD, they started binning them. So they were hoarding these GK110 GPUs the entire time. I have no doubt about it. They bought them by the tens of thousands at a time. They stuck them in a warehouse all of last year because when the GTX 680 launched, do you know how hard it was for me to find one?
Pretty hard.
It was every time I got a Newegg notification that one came in stock, before I could even get to my computer, it was out of stock.
It was gone, yeah.
It was so, and I was building a computer for my brother-in-law at the same time, and it was a nightmare to find one. If you go up on Newegg right now, it launched yesterday, you've got your pick of the litter, whatever brand you want to go with. I think EVGA might be out of stock and so is MSI, but you can still get PNY, Gigabyte, Galaxy. You can still get the card. It's available. Yeah. Because they've been sitting in the warehouse the whole damn time. And
they got plenty of them.
And everybody who bought a Titan, I feel like, got horribly suckered.
It seems that way. I saw some benchmarks on that 780.
It's within like 2 or 3 frames per second of the Titan on every test.
Yeah, and did you see the benchmarks when they were running 2 of them?
Oh, against what?
Against one Titan.
Oh yeah, it was the scaling on the 780 is insane.
It really is. It really is.
So people have been asking me, am I going to buy a 780? Oh hell yeah, I'll buy a 780. But they're still launching it at $650 versus the $500 that the 680 came out as. You know why? Because it's a 660 Ti that people charge $300 for it now that they got $500 for because they pulled that switch on us. So yeah. NVIDIA really rubbed me the wrong way as somebody who's been supporting them since they bought Voodoo. You remember the Voodoo cards back in the 90s, in the early 2000s?
You know, that's when probably I used to play around with PCs back then, and I was building them, and that was a long time ago. And then I quit for about 8 years and just started buying, store-bought, what I call store-bought PCs. Yeah. And up until later last year when I started building the one I'm using now, and I'm gonna tell you, a lot has changed in a decade when it comes to building a PC. So.
Ryan on Twitter just said that he said, I checked yesterday, most companies had a 2 limit and the OC EVGA was out of stock. Now here's how you know the card has been around for a while. On the day of launch, EVGA already had a custom cooler option. The day of launch. It took 2 months for the 680 to launch before anyone had a 2-fan solution to it.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same cooler as the Titan. Same software where you can use, you can control the LED on the side of the thing. When I buy one, the first thing I'm doing is I'm ripping that cooler off. I'm putting a water block on it. And then I told myself yesterday when I realized, oh shit, it launched. I totally missed this one. I didn't get a chance to whore out any views for a 780 video. So I went, well, you know what? It keeps me from impulse buying because there won't be any water blocks available. Well, guess what? Titan water blocks, perfect match.
Are they really?
And all of the water block manufacturers have already come out in the last 24 hours and said, yes, our blocks from the Titan fit on the 780 because it's the same PCB.
I wonder how many people in the stream right now own a Titan.
I don't know. I feel bad for anyone who bought it at $1,000. I honestly do. I have had people tweet me pictures of their Titan and SLI.
Now, I got a buddy of mine that I work with that he has 2 Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And he paid $1,000 a piece for both of them.
$2,000 for the graphics.
For his graphics cards and his PC.
And you know what sucks about that is today he could have had 4-way SLI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, near it. At least a 3-way and had money left over.
Yeah. You know, so...
Yeah. So
it's always... I'm going to tell you, when it comes to buying something, it is usually best to wait a little bit. Yeah. And let that buzz that the companies want to be built up, let that buzz die down. Let somebody else buy them and figure out the problems, see what they clock to, see what kind of temperatures they run. Just in my personal experience, best let somebody else deal with the problems and figure out what you can run it at. And then
it's
when
the same reason why I never buy the first model year of a car.
Yep.
I've always bought a model year after or two after the newest body style, because God, you go and you look at like the TSB, you know, the technical service bulletins on recalls.
Yeah.
The first years always have all sorts of recalls. So, but you know, I just to those that have been asking me, because for the last couple of days, man, people have just been have been expecting me to have one already. But guys, it's $650 plus another $129 for the water block. I'm seriously torn between putting another 680 in here or just getting a single 780. That's when the hardware whore in me really is torn. You know, I like new shiny things. Yeah. And the 780 is exactly that. But I still have such a bad taste in my mouth because of Titan. I was talking to a coworker today who's a diehard AMD fanboy. And I told him, I said, you know, I just might honestly wait to see what AMD comes out with, because they said Q3 and we're a few days away from that, so it could be any day now. And God, if the 8000 series is that much of a technological improvement and it can even keep up with the 780, at the very least, I'll wait, because it'll drive the price of the 780 down just a little bit.
Yep. Competition is good for the consumer.
Yep, and you use Sony Vegas like I do. You can use your GPU to help render your videos.
Yeah, and you know that's currently I'm using the HD 7950. So you know it's not the best, but
it's still not obsolete by any stretch.
I picked it up for like $289 with Crysis 3 for free.
Yep.
BioShock for free, and something else for free. So I figured, you know, for 3 free games, for what I want to do, and for the price, it's perfect. So,
did you know that you can flash the BIOS in that 6950 and you have the same thing as a 7970? I'm sorry, your 69. Your 6950 is the same as this.
I'm sorry, 7950.
Oh, you have a 79. I thought you said 69. Yeah, the 50 and the 70 are two different things. But yeah, you got that for $289 and it's a 7950.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. It was like a lightning deal.
Yep.
$289. It was like, I want to say it came out to like $304 shipped.
Well, that's the other thing too. AMD is really enticing PC gamers to buy their games because they're giving you BioShock Infinite. They're giving you, at the time, well, a few months ago they were doing BioShock Infinite and Crysis 3.
Yep.
I take that back. God, they've changed it's called the Never Settle deal, and they've changed it a few times. You could choose BioShock Infinite or Crysis 3 with Tomb Raider. Both of them came with Tomb Raider. Now they're doing Tomb Raider, BioShock Infinite, and Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Yeah, that's what I got.
3 games with your graphics card. Yep. What do those add up to alone? And what did NVIDIA offer? $25 in-game cash for World of Tanks, Hawken, or PlanetSide.
Yeah.
Yeah, you tell me which bundle's better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I looked. And there again, I was shopping. I like, this is what I want to spend on my GPU, and now what performance? Because I'm one to check the benchmarks and see what what like Tom Hardware, some of the guys, what they have, the comparison, the comparison charts, and then what games I got free. And when I look, I'm like, yeah, I could get a 660 Ti, but here's this HD 7950, 3 gigs of RAM, Crysis 3, BioShock, and the Blood Dragon game, and it's gonna be $300 shipped.
Tom's Hardware. If you guys in the stream are newer to PCs and if you need a good site for comparisons, Tom's Hardware is like by far your one place you need to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is nothing but editors up there that give it to you straight. They're not being paid off by anybody. In fact, they flat out have exposed some companies who tried to get them to skew their reviews. And Tom's Hardware is just, I love Tom's Hardware.
Yeah, if I can't get a hold of Jay, I'll go ahead and go to Tom's Hardware.
Yeah, and the forum I go to, because people always ask where I'm going to forum-wise, I go to hardforum.com. Don't go to hardforum.net. A totally different website. I'm just warning you right now. Hardforum.com is I've been there like 6 years or 7 years now, and I'm well known in the water cooling forums there. That's where you can go and just get all sorts of information. But now that we're talking about PC hardware and generational jumps, let's talk about what EA said. And what was his name? I want his name out there.
Let's see if we can find it. I should know it, but I don't.
I had this ready, but then I had that shit to deal with 20 minutes before the stream. So EA, who's always in the news. God, they just seem to always be in the news about something. What's his name? Taneja. I don't know what his first name is. Somebody by the name of Taneja. So anyway, here's his exact words. And this was in a LinkedIn post, by the way. And if you're not an industry professional, LinkedIn is like the Facebook for business associates.
Yeah. It's how we mingle amongst ourselves.
Yes.
Set up meetings, connections, the whole deal.
And so he says these architectures are a generation ahead of the highest end PC on the market. Our benchmarks on just the video and audio performance are 8 to 10 times superior to the current generation. He says the compute capabilities of these platforms and the data transfer speeds we can now bank on essentially removes any notion of rationing of system resources for our game engines. The architecture of both the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 present more opportunities to take your game from TV to smartphone to PC with seamless ubiquity and experience gaming at any time, in any way, in any device. So he says it's 8 to 10 times superior to the highest end PC on the market today. Wow.
It's
and Nick, he just tweeted me the name Rajat Taneja.
When I first read this, because somebody sent me this before you did today, actually.
Yeah.
My first thought was, did they drug test their executives? Because this guy needed a drug test right after he said this.
Yeah,
he cannot be just talking purely in performance and hardware, because it's just not there.
No way.
It's just not there. Now,
not to mention they can't code for anything higher generation than PC anyway, because what the hell do they program the game on?
Exactly. So, but in fairness, I think it's one of them cases of I didn't really mean it like that. What I meant and what I said came out way wrong.
There's no way to misinterpret what he said, that's for sure. So I would love to hear him pull that.
I want to. I think after he sat down and read this and really thought about what he said, I think somebody really chewed him out. Like
it's like we have to have an Adam Orth in every conversation now.
Yeah. Yep.
God, it's especially when EA. And I Skyped this to you earlier, has extreme vested interest in PC. Why would they want to, and I wouldn't say they're alienating, but why would they want to talk down on any platform when as a publisher, they develop for everything, smartphone, PC, console? I don't get it.
In a sense, that is just an executive's way to really talk up what's new and what's hot and what's on people's minds, and that is new consoles. But the way he went about trying to generate some more buzz, I think it generated the wrong kind of buzz.
Now, Ubu the Tech Guru says the EA guy is talking about the SoC architecture. Okay, fine. If that's true, I'll give him that. But his quote, he was quoted. It's written. It's on the internet. It'll never come down because once on the internet, always on the internet. Said specifically, and I want to pull that back up. She already closed it. But anyway, I said word for word what he said. And there's only one way to take that. And I don't know. I am definitely biased towards PC. There's no doubt about that. But does that mean that I don't spend evenings in my living room playing Forza or something else?
Yeah.
I just, you know, I already hate the fact that I have to use Origin for some games that I play, because I have a serious dislike for EA. And then for them to come and say something like, that, just really, because it's so out of his ass.
You know, it's hard for me, and I'll tell you why. I've just recently really gotten into I guess you'd say, really gotten into PC gaming just since before Christmas. Now, I've gamed on PC before, but I've always had like inferior hardware, so I never got to really experience the full capability of a game. But
I really love I really love what you tweeted. What was that, last night, about go play Crysis 3 on PC and then go to Black Ops 2 on Xbox?
If your PC can run Crysis 3 max settings around 50 to 60 frames per second, run Crysis 3 on max settings, and then hit your big button and turn on your Xbox 360 and play Black Ops 2. And just tell me the first thing that crosses your mind, because mine is like, why would I want to play this? It seems like I lagged less on PC.
What's funny is I talked about that the day of the launch, because I was live tweeting during the live stream for Xbox, and I put on there, you know, I was being facetious. I certainly was. And when I said, "Oh, it's cute that they caught up to, you know, Crysis like graphics from 2007," you know, it's cute that the Xbox is starting to catch up to 5-year-old, 6-year-old technology. And then someone tweeted me and said, "Gameplay is greater than graphics," and I'm thinking to myself, there are very few games that are not available on both platforms. With PC, you can have both. You know, the only thing I like about my console is the fact that I can easily take it with me somewhere if I need to. And some people, your followers, may not have seen my PC, but this behemoth over here, God, I mean, if I'm ever short on a gym day, I can just curl this thing and get some good try workout. But my rig weighs about 60 pounds. It's stupid. But, you know, I prefer having surround monitor set up. I prefer just being on the PC, everything about it. And let's face it, even the people who are on Xbox, and most of those people that are making comments on YouTube videos on my PC versus console video, are doing so on a computer. So you can already do so much more on a computer than you can a PC, that we already have it. Why not? I do the best I can to try and convert people over to PC, just to get them to experience it. And most people haven't looked back.
One of the things, and you know, I've said this before in several different videos, is that, for example, if it wasn't for Twitter and having as many followers that I do, if I'm just an average person, and you know, and all my friends play console sports, but I decide to invest some money in a nice gaming PC, and I start playing, I'm starting over from scratch, because most of my friends don't really have gaming PCs. Now, through my you know, being myself and being on Twitter with some followers and people that follow me and whatnot, I've been able to find some really cool PC gamers that I can play my games with. But the average person, you know, used to there was always this term where, you know, PC gamers were loners, because they didn't have no friends, and not because all they did was play all day long. That's not why they didn't have no friends. It's because they can never really play together with people.
And that was all very true until Steam became mainstream.
Exactly.
And I've got a Steam. I'm about to get a Steam badge that many people don't have, and I'm very proud of that Steam badge. And that's the 10-year badge. You know, you've got people that've got their 5, 6, 7-year Xbox Gold badges on their Xbox accounts, but not many people have that 10-year plus Steam badge, and I'm proud of that. You know, but I like PC gaming. I don't think I can honestly say why I like PC gaming. I think it's just, why does anybody like anything? Why does someone like PlayStation over Xbox? It just appeals to you, and sometimes you don't need to know why. You just need to know that that's what you like.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't watch TV. I don't I don't do movies and stuff very much. I'm always in front of my computer.
Yeah,
and
my livelihood revolves around a computer.
Oh, mine too. And that's why some people always accuse me of being high or something on my videos because my eyes are so bloodshot. It's like, guys, I look at a monitor 15 hours a day. I'm going to be blind by the time I'm 40.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the truth right there.
Same here.
Okay, guys, so go ahead and start... starting from this point forward, go ahead and start asking your questions. We'll try and touch as many of them as we can. I know I've neglected the questions a bit during this stream, but, you know, I like interacting with other YouTubers and getting opinions, especially when, you know, we've fairly agreed on everything in this stream, but, you know, I like controversy and not drama. There's definitely a difference between controversy and drama. I like being challenged in the things that I do and don't like, and so that's my PC versus console. In fact, I'm gonna be doing a spoof video here soon because, you know, I like to do some comedy on my channel. I'm gonna be doing a spoof about how to convert a console gamer to PC, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like a documentary how-to, and I'm gonna have some friends help out, and it should be fun. It should be fun and exciting. We'll see. So once that's up, I'll have to make sure that everybody here sees it. So okay.
You know, one of the things, and people say this all the time, well, you can get a nice gaming PC for the same price of a console. I don't think that's necessarily true from my personal experience. You can't get a PC that will run most games at 50 frames per second, and you know, and it be less than $1,000.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think too a lot of people don't understand the reality regarding frames per second. You've got two different aspects to rendering on a computer when it comes to creating an image, and it's kind of like three parts that make that image. You've got frame latency, frames per second, and then you've got the refresh rate of the monitor. So you've got frames per second, which says the graphics card itself can spit out and process X amount of frames in a second. Most monitors are 60 Hz, which means that they can project 60 images per second on the screen before they start getting tearing. Tearing is where you've got three sections of the monitor, and when those three sections don't line up because the monitor can't refresh itself fast enough to show the image, that's tearing. Then you've got the refresh rate of the monitor, which I know Call of Duty gamers are going to understand refresh rate. You know, you've got your millisecond response time for one pixel to turn on and off. And if that's a slow number, 5 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds, some TVs are like 50 milliseconds, you get ghosting, so that image kind of looks like it's fluttering across the screen.
Yeah.
Now, frame latency is one of those things where NVIDIA says, okay, fine, we're falling behind AMD a little bit in frames per second, but we've got better frame latency. What that means is how long the frame is on the screen before the next one is rendered. So you can have 50 frame, 100, or let me take that back, 60 frames per second, which matches your monitor hertz rating. But if you've got the first 40 being rendered extremely quickly, and then the last 20 you have a slow frame latency where they're lagging between frames, your eye is going to perceive that as stutter and lag. Yeah. So when you talk about frames per second, you definitely want to shoot for two different numbers. Either the hertz rating of your monitor, in most cases 60, or half that number, in many cases 30. So if you have a 30-second frame rate that's got even frame latency, which is, you know, half of the hertz rating of the monitor, it's going to look smoother than 50 frames per second that's got huge stutter in there. Yeah. That a lot of console gamers don't think about that sort of thing because they just don't know. So they'll go on they'll get on their computer and they'll say, oh, it's all laggy and choppy, when it could be 60 frames per second, but the latency on it's horrible. That's where console gamers aren't used to tuning their graphics card to their system. Yeah. But, you know, you're right. For $400, you cannot build a gaming computer from scratch, because if you're going to do it legit, and I like to try and do everything on the up and up and legit, you can't even buy Windows for less than $100. No, it's like $100 what I paid for it. Yeah, so it leaves you $300 for hardware. Impossible. Yep. It's not impossible to build it, but it's impossible to play, say, Crysis 3, even at 30 frames per second. Yeah, it's just not running it. So, okay, so I'm going to check some of these comments here. On Hand Computer says, can you explain to me what a video card is? Like, what are CUDA cores and bits? Graphics card is nothing more than a tiny computer inside your computer that's sole responsibility is creating a moving image on your screen. And the bits that you mention, you're more than likely talking about memory bit. It just has to do with the amount of roads available to send information to and from the computer, and the between the GPU, which is the computer inside the graphics card, and its memory. Typically, the more expensive the card, the better the performance, although that's really been changing a lot lately.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan366 says Halo is not on PC anymore because no one would buy an Xbox anymore if it was. No, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's just appealing to a specific platform and having its exclusives. Granted, I don't know if there really are any PC exclusives anymore.
Now, I played Halo 1, on PC, and I still have the box. I bought it in, the disc, the directions. Halo was amazing on PC.
I think I vaguely remember that, but I've never been that far into Halo.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at it. I'm extremely bad. Let's see. Human Livestock says he hates when he sees YouTube PC builds and they don't include an operating system, case, monitor, keyboard, speakers, headphones, and mouse cost in their build. And they say they're trying to help non-PC gamers. I'm guilty of that myself, but then again, I've never built a rig designed towards the conversion, if you will.
Yeah.
Damn, I hate when these things constantly move on me. Mr. Noah says, Jay, how do you keep your computer nice and fast as it gets old? My computer doesn't get old. No, it's all about maintaining what you put on your computer. If every time you install something, most of the time it wants to have an auto startup. I might have to do a video on this. I just keep my operating system, first of all, on an SSD, which never slows down. And I don't let anything start up that I don't want. If I click the little system tray down at the bottom, I've got 4 programs running, and I'm using 3 of them right now to stream.
Yeah.
So, also too, pornography. Yeah. That if you watch a lot of that stuff and you go to those websites, you're going to get a lot of Trojans and things that are installed in your computer that you're just not going to know about. And all that stuff honestly slows down your computer. It's just the way it is. A lot of websites you go to, period, that if you ever gone to a website, you get a pop-up and all that stuff just eats away little bit and bit at your memory, and all that stuff is stored in your computer through cookies and whatnot, and all that stuff has to be called up every time you open a browser or whatever. So make sure you keep your internet files cleaned out, keep your cookies cleaned off, and you'll find that your computer runs a lot better.
Yeah.
Mr. Noah also says, you got a Mac, no viruses. That's not true. My wife and I both had MacBook Pros. She still has hers. I don't have mine anymore. She got a virus on hers. It was through Facebook. And it just happened to be a JavaScript virus, and Mac runs Java, and it's very, very possible. In fact, we had to do a full system restore. It completely crashed her Mac.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's just a casual user. Facebook, of all things.
I almost bought a Mac and changed my mind.
There was about 3 years there where I kind of lost who I was. Maybe I thought I was going to be a hipster. I don't know. But I had my MacBook because I was traveling a lot, and it was a good, fast system, and it didn't slow down. It just became outdated, and that's why I sold it. But I look back and I went, damn, I paid $2,000 for this thing?
Mm-hmm.
$2,000. And this laptop I'm using right here, I'm showing it in the stream. This is my ProBook here. I got this for work. You can even see my stream on there as I'm monitoring it. I've still got 75% battery left on this thing. Well, it's been sitting here unplugged this entire stream, which we're already going for an hour and 15 minutes, and it was going prior to that. This thing, it's an i5. It's got integrated graphics, but the performance on this thing is just completely shocking the hell out of me. In fact, it's even capable of rendering on the go if I need to.
Yeah, I got a recently, because I travel a lot, so I got a new laptop myself, and
$700.
Yeah, I got a i7 with I want to say a 640 processor in it.
Probably 640 GT.
I mean GPU. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's probably a GT640 probably.
Yeah, and it looks like if you looked at it and really didn't pay attention, you would think it's a MacBook Pro.
Well, yeah, design-wise, a lot of companies have started doing that. God, you know, if Apple can sue people for a rounded edges, rectangular shaped tablet, then anything's possible. Someone asked if I've been checking Facebook. I'll be honest, social media is just like on fire right now. It's impossible for me to check everything. I'm kind of looking right now. It's okay. Austin Weekland on Facebook. Let's see. He says there are a lot of people complaining about how the Xbox One is all TV, and there wasn't much about gaming at the release conference. If you think about E3 is in 3 weeks, and if so, if they showed all their stuff for gaming, they wouldn't. Yeah, I know exactly what you're getting at. You know, one, it's kind of their bad for having the launch event just before E3. But I'm going to tell you right now, E3 or not, E3 should be where they let everyone get hands-on with everything they show at their launch event.
If this would have been me handling this launch, there is no way in hell that I would have done what they done. I would completely not have done it that way. And I guarantee you, if it was me handling it, there would not be 70-something% that were disappointed in it based off of an IGN poll. Mm-hmm. Whoever was the lead man running this and setting this up, their ideas and what they were trying to convey to the consumer got completely lost somewhere. Because at the end of the day, people waited 10 years for a new system, and people want to see power. They want to see. At the end of the day, people buy Xboxes to play video games on.
And they sure as hell weren't pointing that device at me, I can tell you that.
You know, and it's just, I was blown away. I was watching it. We had a big meeting. We were covering a little bit keynotes and stuff like that, just to seeing what's going on, and it just blew me away. I mean, I was left stunned by what I saw.
Yeah, I was watching it at work, and another coworker was, and at one point, at the end, we went an hour-long stream, and the last 15 minutes was about gaming, and it was only about 2 games. Mm-hmm. You know, someone was calling it the sports box. One.
Yeah, they really pushed. The UFC game, the NFL game, the basketball game. I mean, nothing really screamed, this console is packed with power.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one entirely. Oh, I see that you're responding to, either you're responding to Captain George or he just happened to ask after you started. I don't know which. A lot of people don't realize that the comments are usually fairly lagged in YouTube. They don't refresh immediately. You know, I feel kind of bad too because I was invited to E3. I didn't get to go, or I'm not going to get to go because I took vacation last week, and I'm not going to take 2 vacations that close together. Plus, on the heels of CES, I won't go and cover another event like that if I don't have help with me. God, CES just about killed me.
Yeah, you had some good videos during that.
And I just went across I started looking through some of the old videos on my external drive today of other footage I had from that event that I just didn't get a chance to use. When you're one person that's trying to set up the interviews, operate the camera, get the audio, get the B-roll, do the editing at night, get it all up in the same day, it's impossible. And especially when you have guys like Linus Tech Tips, who has a whole team with him, who was putting up like 8 videos a day.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, ask your questions here before we wrap this thing up. You're gonna be seeing more of Redneck here on these live streams because it's just now that he's turned into a PC nerd. I can.
I have, and you know, it's really true, and you know, I'm very interested in it, to say the least, and I've been spending a lot of money as of late on new upgrades. This, upgrades that.
It's fun, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it really is. It's something I really enjoy.
I've got a part right here on my desk actually that I haven't shown that was sent to me by AlphaCool, and I'm going to be redoing all the water cooling on my computer. And it's funny that they sent me this block, this CPU block here, and I'm showing it in the stream. I know you can't see it on Skype. What's cool about this is this was out of my price range. I looked at this block, and this thing was out of my price range when I first built this system. And they are interested in sponsoring the rest of the build if the video and review on this goes well. So first call to action I have for all you guys is when I put up this review, go and watch it a couple times.
Yeah.
And, you know,
comment, ask questions, like the video.
Absolutely. And speaking of like, there's 88 of you in here right now, and I see 50 likes and 1 dislike. So there's no reason why there shouldn't be 88 likes on this video.
Yeah, that's,
or this
come
stream.
on, guys. You got to step it up.
I don't think a lot of people understand what the likes actually do to a video. The Google algorithm takes all that stuff into account. It takes minutes watched, views, and the amount of likes to dislikes. It takes a lot of that into consideration where it ranks it. So,
and look, and liking the video, because I promise you, me being here has nothing to do with money. I'm here because this is something I like.
Money?
I like Jay. Yeah, a lot of people have this notion if the more you like somebody's video, the more money they're going to make. Okay, they're gonna, you know, and so you hear people a lot of times, so I'm not going to like his video. That'll just give him more money. I promise you, Jay has a lot more money invested in what he's doing, as do I, than we have ever made from so
YouTube. YouTube for me would be if I was looking at this at a financial aspect, YouTube would be completely in the red for me money wise, because you know I'm about to hit that first million, which isn't a lot of money off those views anyway. But if you got, I don't know how many people in here have come, you know, as your fans or versus mine, but my fans know that almost every dollar I've made on YouTube has gone back into giveaways, because I have a day job. I don't need the YouTube money. I do it for fun. The money is the perk that I've turned around and I've given away $120 headphones. I've given away games like BioShock Infinite, Tomb Raider. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and plug this now to let you guys know. This that I'm holding in my hand right here, this is the Tilt power plant. And this is not a paid placement. That's the other thing. Two people are like, Jay, you're always mentioning companies now. You're a sellout. No. They're sending me stuff to review because I'm a review channel. If you want to just sit here and talk and hold air, I can do that. But hey, this is the Tilt power plant. This is a 5200 milliamp battery that was sent to me by the company because I met them in CES. They were a Kickstarter company. They're just like me, where they're trying to get traction in their industry, and they know that I'm always on the go, so they sent me this. This one here happens to be the Lightning adapter for the iPhone. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is I'm going to be doing a review on this, and here's another one that I have right here that they sent me. This is the micro USB one. There's 2 of them. The reason why this is important for you guys is just as a thank you of me doing the review for them, they're going to be giving away 3 of these simply to my viewers and my viewers alone. And these are like $150 batteries. They can charge your phone a few times or a tablet entirely. And I've already tested this thing. Excuse me, yesterday I brought my iPhone all the way down to 4% on the battery, charged it to full, unplugged my phone, took my wife's phone, which we intentionally made dead, and it fully charged that and it had battery left over. So, you know, 3 of these are going to be given out to my viewers simply because that's what you do when you're on YouTube and you appreciate it. So
that's right.
To any of the people who've said, Jay, you know, all this product that you're talking about being sent to you, you know, the word sellout has started making its way around. And guess what? I have not received any money for any of the stuff that I've reviewed on YouTube. And anything that I do get, if I don't like it, I give it back to you guys. Or it may get the tire. Some of you guys have noticed that things I don't like get ran over. So someone told me to buy the Xbox One and run it over, but you know what? I might as well just do like the Titan video and take 500 Benjamins and set it on fire.
Yeah, that's right. That is it. I'm glad to see those likes jump way up. That's good stuff.
I think people just forget to click it.
Yeah, they do.
When I did the live computer build last week. Was it last week? Yeah, last week. At one point, I looked and I said, why is there only 20 likes? There was 145 people in the stream. So I said, hey guys, just click the like button. I want to see how far it'll jump. And in like 10 seconds, it went up over 100. So, you know, what I really wish I could see as a content creator is why someone dislikes. If you unsub or click dislike, they should make you click a little button, a little box that says why. You know, but or that, or as far as I'm concerned with Google, they should just get rid of the like dislike altogether. All it does is give, you know, ways for people to be hateful, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
The dislikes don't bother me, not one bit. In the beginning, I think they did a little bit. It was like, but I spent time on this. Why don't they like it?
When I hit that dislike button, I want it to automatically send a tweet on Twitter. Yo,
boom.
I dislike this video.
Oh yeah, be accountable. Awesome. Be accountable for it.
I'm proud to say your video sucked.
And you know what? Guys like you and I would tell them why.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, let's see here. Human Livestock says, "Would you run over the Xbox One? It gets angry at your Durango. Just shake." And, I think a lot of people really missed the symbolism when I ran over the broken Xbox. By the way, when I break things, I get tons of dislikes. People think I'm being wasteful, but it was already broken. First of all, at the time, the only thing we knew about the Xbox One is that it was codenamed Durango.
That's it.
And I ran it over with my Durango. It was symbolism, people.
They should give you one for free just for that. Out with the old, in with the new.
Well, I had a friend of mine guarantee that I'll pretty much never ever get to do any sort of an NVIDIA review after the Titan video.
We'll see if we can work on that.
I know, right? Well, the first thing that AlphaCool told me was that they looked at my channel and that they're sending me this. So at that point, I went, huh. If people are looking at the channel first, then I do need to be a little careful about what I say and do, because I don't want to give off a negative annotation. And I think I told you privately before, I would love to start a series. Does it get the tire sort of thing?
Yeah.
But then no one would send me anything. They wouldn't want to see their stuff get ran over.
They don't want to take the chance. Oh no, if we send him, there's a chance he's gonna run over our product and say it's terrible.
If it's terrible, I'm gonna say it anyway.
Yeah. But you're not going to run over it with the Durango.
Well, okay. if I sort of dislike it, I'll run it over with the Nissan.
What if somebody offered you a product review and said, Jay, we're going to send you this product to review, 5 to give away, but you have to sign this agreement stating that even if you do, if you really hate our product, you will not run it over with the Durango.
Well, do I get to say I don't like it though?
Hey.
If I have to say I like it, then it's a sellout.
A lot of the larger companies now, they're going to a system where if you give it, basically you have to send them the review, and if you give it a bad review, then basically you've already agreed to with a contract,
right?
That basically you won't publish the review if they deem it sheds bad light onto their product. So.
Well, AlphaCool has definitely taken a chance on me then, because I'm a diehard water cooler, and if this thing doesn't handle my overclock, I'm going to put it out there. But they didn't give me any sort of requirement or any draft. What they did say was that based on the performance of this video, then we'll talk about full sponsorship.
Yeah.
And they've already sponsored channels like Tasty PC, like when she only had 5,000 subs sort of thing. So I know that they're interested, just if we're going off sub and view count.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the last thing I care about is getting stuff for free. It's just nice to be able to do reviews on things and not have to pay out of pocket, because that's the way the channel started. Anything I reviewed was out of my own pocket.
Yeah, same with me.
And I have a friend that lives right down the street that's got a 1995 Ford Diesel with 38-inch Super Swampers on it. If I really don't like something, it's getting those tires.
Yeah, I wrote one time. A lot of people missed a joke. I took a black Sharpie and wrote PS3 in black on a white Xbox and ran over it with an old K5 Blazer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, what an idiot. He's running over a perfectly good PlayStation. And, I thought for a minute, okay, are they trolling me back? Or are they really dumb?
I know, right?
It's like, I didn't get it.
That's the thing that annoys the hell out of me when I destroy something. And see, I've destroyed a few things on my channel already. I've destroyed a motherboard, a CPU, and a heatsink. That was my how to install a CPU. It was almost like how-to basic style. I have destroyed the laptop. I ran that over. I've destroyed the Xbox. What people don't realize is, on the Xbox video, I can't tell you how many times somebody said, you destroyed a perfectly good Xbox, you could have given it to me, blah, blah. What the hell in that video let you know it was perfectly good? Did you see it on? Did you see it working? No, it was completely busted. The laptop already had the salvageable parts taken out of it. They didn't realize that the keyboard didn't work. The screen was completely dead. The motherboard was fried because it had a horrible overheating issue. But the hard drive and the memory was taken out of it, which was the only salvageable piece. And then that was ran over. And then the CPU, that was a burned up Athlon X2. Why would it? I mean, the stuff's already broken. And it went to the e-cycle. You should have seen the look on their face when I brought them the laptop. I wanted to do a video, and I was a much younger YouTube at the time. I didn't have quite, because you know, as a YouTuber, you develop nerve, right?
Yeah.
You get gutsier with the things you'll do in public. And I wanted to take that Xbox, or not the Xbox, the laptop that had been crushed, and take it over to Geek Squad at Best Buy, and I wanted to like candidly film me telling them that, you know, I can't figure out why it's not working, sort of thing, and just playing really stupid. I'm probably going to do something like that in the future, but there's so much I want to do with the channel. It's more ideas than I have time, that's for sure. There's still 84 people in here. I'm shocked, since we're just rambling now.
Good deal. Oh, while we're still rambling, this is what I've learned so far from starting back building PCs. In the beginning, I thought it was wise to spend more money on the initial build on my processor and my GPU and go cheap everywhere else. Now, as of today, I think it's wiser to spend as much money as you can on a power supply and a motherboard. And I don't know, people can call me crazy, but through the upgrading that I have been doing and that I've done thus far, I realized that after buying the power supply that I did, the motherboard that I did, that now what's limiting is not the processor and the GPU. What's limiting me was the power supply and the motherboard. So if you guys are out there going to start a build, I'm telling you.
I think, because I've got a list of like 20 different videos I need to make, and I think I'm going to bump everything you need to know about power supplies up on the top of the list. Yeah. Because power supplies are the shit. They're powering the system, but they also have the power to destroy your system.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you junk out on your power supply and the voltage regulator and that thing pops, you can have 220 from the wall going, or even 120 from the wall going straight into your system. Yeah. And people, they don't understand, what does 80 plus mean? What does bronze, silver, gold, and platinum mean? What does 12-volt rails mean? And people really need the advice on that. So you brought up a good
absolutely.
point. And
I can't wait to see it.
It's also the most commonly reused part in a system.
Yeah.
I mean, the power supply that I have right now, it's an 80 plus gold, and I went with the gold because the amount of overclocking that I do, I need the consistent power delivery. Yeah. It was more expensive. It was $150. A lot of people, they look at $100 or less on a power supply, but this thing will last me years. It'll last me longer than any other component in the system.
I think I got a 750 watt. The Thermaltake Smart Series, I think it's called 80.
Yeah.
80.
As long as it's 80 plus bronze or higher, I'll recommend it. And too many people get caught on the wattage of a power supply versus the quality of those watts. If you understand audio and you know the difference between max peak RMS and RMS when it comes to sound, you may see a stereo that advertises 500 watts of sound. Yep. That's 500 watts of distortion included in there.
Yeah. What's the RMS?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so people don't realize where the distortion starts. It's still volume, and it's still power being outputted as noise. It's distorted volume. It's the same thing with a power supply. I would always recommend somebody take a 600 watt, 80 plus bronze or even a silver, over an 800 or an 850 watt 80 plus. That's not even a bronze. And especially because the quality of the components, you're definitely requiring to keep a consistent output to your CPU, and that's the most delicate part in your system is that CPU. We're talking in most cases 1.3 volts. That is such a small amount of energy, but yet 1.3 versus let's even just say 5 is a major difference. If I bump my processor up right now by 0.075 of a volt, I get 3 degrees hotter on the core. So power supplies definitely are one of the most important parts of your system, and that's going to be my next video. I've just decided, especially since I have like 5 in the closet. I can show the difference. Yeah. I can open one up and show the difference between a cheap one and a good built one.
Hey guys, if you're watching, I think we're 3 likes off of 100 for the live stream. So
yeah, we're 4 likes off. Let's do it. In fact, I haven't even clicked like myself.
Smash the like button.
I didn't even click like myself. Whoops.
There you go. You forgot.
Yeah. Well, I generally don't. I generally don't click like on my own videos, mostly because I don't have it linked to Twitter, since Fullscreen likes to like so much stuff on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
I want my likes to have more weight. So I'm surprised I'm not seeing that many questions in the stream. I'm seeing a lot more comments, which is good too. Let's see. Big Worm 1705 says, I'm on the cheap, and I've been thinking about the 7790, or should I wait to the 8000 series? You're coming from a 4850. Well, like we said earlier, even if you're not going to get an 8000 series, if you can hold off a few more months, it's going to make the current 7000 series get cheaper.
Yeah.
So you'll benefit anyway. Let's see. Human Livestock says, best advice, buy the PSU that's as heavy as a lead car battery.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, on Tom's Hardware, there was an article I read a couple years back about a power supply that was just that. It was really heavy, and it was advertised as being, XYZ of a power supply. And when they opened it up, they literally found a lead weight glued to the top of the power supply. And the internals on there were as cheap and as just janky as you could get. Yep, I have to find that and link that. I'll look for it. There was lead weight, on the inside of the power supply. I couldn't believe it.
That's unbelievable.
That's why you also don't buy things from non-reputable companies on eBay. Because when I was at CES, there was an entire section of the convention that was called, I swear to God, I'm not making this up, it was called Little China. And in there was nothing but all the rip-off companies. All of the companies that were, all of the fake iPhones and all the fake iPads and all the fake stuff was there, trying to get U.S. distributors. Legitimately at the conference. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
Here comes your questions about GPUs. They're starting to roll in.
Oh, here we go.
Was that? Yeah, go with that one. I think he was about to say it.
Which one? The on-hand computers?
No. What is a good budget graphics card?
Okay, I'm going to answer the dual one first, and I'll go with that. So, on-hand computer says, are dual 7750s good for 1080p monitor for something like BF3? I personally don't recommend any Crossfire AMD because the scaling with AMD's Crossfire is just really bad. In most cases, it's a 20 to 25% improvement by adding 100% of the cost of another card. Doesn't make sense at all. It makes more sense to take the money you were going to buy a second card, sell your old one on Craigslist or eBay, and get a better card altogether. That's my answer regarding that. I'm not even SLIing NVIDIA, and I'm torn on whether or not I even want to consider it. Okay. So, Lil Shady says, what video card would you say is the best bang for the buck if money wasn't an issue?
Well, that kind of contradicts,
yeah, that's
the question. Yeah.
Not to mention that's completely subjective. Okay.
Let me ask his question to you from me. I have $200. What can I get for $200? Now I know that's a tough question, a spot question, because you have to figure out what current prices are. But in your mind, what can you get for around $200?
For around $200, you can get a 7770, and I believe you can even get a 7850 if you shop. I'm gonna see if I'm gonna eat my words, or if that's true. Because pricing is always changing. Let's see, 7850.
Yeah, they got them for $189.
$199. I think that's the best $200 card you can buy. Yep.
Yeah.
You can get the Asus dual, the CU, the CU2, which is a lot quieter and cooler for $199.
Yeah, they got it right now, and oh, excuse me. $199, and you get free Far Cry 3, Titan, BioShock, and Tomb Raider. So there you go.
Yeah, you buy any
$200
AMD. Your mic went all blah, blah, blah for a second there.
There we go. Bye now.
Okay. All right. It sounds all right. Yeah, that's the thing. If you go AMD in that price range too, you still qualify for the three free games: Blood Dragon, BioShock, and Tomb Raider. So you're getting over $100 worth of games right there. On top of that, you just can't beat it. Not to mention, it's not a hard product. It's free for them to distribute. So AMD was really smart on that. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, making sure. I like how On-Hand Computer says, according to Jay, the best bang for the bucks is the Titan. If I was going to shoot the money, then yes, this is a bang for a buck, that's for sure.
Mm.
Do you think NVIDIA undermined the Titan by offering the 78 at nearly 400 less? Boss Jedi, my suggestion is that you rewatch the stream. We already talked about that earlier. When the stream is done and it's uploaded, I'm going to go back and I'm going to timestamp in the description all of the different topics we talked about so you can skip to it. I had a lot to say about that, didn't I?
Yeah, he had a long-winded tangent, and it was very good. And I believe what my buddy Boss Jedi Zohan wants to know is basically what you said. So what in his mind, yeah. So you go back and check that out. You'll definitely probably agree.
Short answer: the Titan is the 780.
Basically,
there's my short answer. Right now, okay, Dan366 says right now, if you have money out the wazoo, the Titan if you can get it. But want a waste of money? No, I wouldn't even suggest it then, because you're not going to see a 10% performance increase between the Titan and the 780 for $400. $400 is not worth 10%, and that's not across the board 10%. There were times where the Titan and the 780 were within 1% performance of each other. Different benchmarks. Go watch Linus Tech Tips 1080p resolution review. 1400 or 1440, they spread out slightly, but most people are not gaming at 1440 resolution. So anyway, Mike Hawk, what's Z77 chipset? What others are there, and what are the differences? Z77 is just what Intel calls their integrated North Bridge, basically. See, Intel got rid of the North Bridge off of the motherboard and placed all of it internally inside of the CPU with a different architecture back when Sandy Bridge launched, which was the 2600, 2500K processors. It's the architecture platform. So you got Z77, you got X79. X79 is where their Extreme is. It's a much bigger processor. You've got X54, I can't remember, X59, something along there. Anyway, they're going to be bringing, from what I understand, the 2011 socket back with Haswell. And my prediction, and I'm going to say it here and now, and we can see if I'm right later next month, is that the reason why Intel is going back to the 2011 socket is real estate, where they've maxed out the Ivy Bridge and Sandy Bridge technology as far as they can, because the dies kept getting smaller and smaller, and the chip started getting smaller and smaller. And they are going to now be bringing you much more lower cost, more mainstream 6 and 8 core processors. So in order to get the real estate that they need to fit those cores inside, they're going back to the 2011 socket, which kind of sucks for anyone who went Z77, including yourself, Redneck, is you're kind of at the end of an upgrade path.
Yeah.
I believe Ivy Bridge E might still be on the Z87 platform, but unfortunately it's not going to be compatible with your motherboard. And if you're like me and you put a Maximus 4 a Maximus 5 formula inside of the 4K build, he can't go anywhere from there. Yeah. Fortunately, that guy doesn't even want to use his computer more than about a year and wants to completely redo it. It must be nice to have that kind of money. But anyway.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction: is you're going to see non-extreme 6 and 8. You're going to see an Intel 8 core. The next extreme is going to be an 8 core, and it's probably going to be about $1,200. And the 6 core is going to have a standard, probably right around $400 or $500. A 6 core possibly a Z87. I'm not sure. But that's what I think they're going to do. Core for core, I don't think they have much farther they can go on efficiency and power. But they're just going to be sticking more cores in there now. Which means AMD really better bring it with Steamroller. Otherwise, my upgrade path is going to Intel.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. All right, guys. I don't know about Redneck. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit here.
Yeah. I could go on for days, but unfortunately, I got some company I got to attend to here in a minute.
I'm going to be heading over to Twitch in a little bit. I'm going to be live streaming some Payday. Have you tried Payday?
I have not.
Okay, what you need to do, and because you and I are going to play a game together at some point, damn it, you need to go over to Steam. It's $5. Download Payday the Heist. $5. Steam sale, can't beat it. It's a co-op game. Do you remember back in the Left 4 Dead?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like Left 4 Dead, only you're robbing a bank and you have to survive waves of cops and get out with the loot.
Sounds good.
It's a 4-way co-op. You can do it with 2 and 2 AI, whatever. I was playing it last night. It is freaking fun. And Payday 2 is right around the corner, but Payday 1 is for $5. You can't beat it. I'm going to be live streaming that tonight. And if any of you guys have Payday, I don't know. Maybe I haven't done any sort of gaming with subscribers. I need to kind of do that. Don't you have a Minecraft server that you have subscribers jump on there?
Yeah, Minecraft servers. I've been picking up more and more games off of Steam. I actually picked up, was it Chivalry?
Oh yeah, I heard a lot about that game.
Yeah, right now it's on Steam for $8. So
there's all sorts of memes too. People saying, you know, the worst thing that ever happened to my bank account was Steam sale.
Yeah, and that's, I'm starting to see that. But look, and you can get a game, and I hear the nature in which you talk about a $5 game, and see, that's something that don't happen with consoles. Just keep that in mind, guys.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to download some sort of an indie game, maybe from up on the Xbox Live somewhere. But Steam is, I love Steam. They'll put anybody's game up there, and it's always there, so you can uninstall it, and if you don't have much room, and re-download it later.
Yeah.
So yeah, and everybody in the stream, if you're a PC gamer and you have Steam and if you like the Left 4 Dead, kind of like the Horde Waves sort of thing, but you want to rob a bank and shoot law enforcement and see if you can steal money, it's such a great game when you think about what I'm saying. Like okay, anyway, $5. I suggest you guys go and do it. Maybe I'll get rotate some subscribers in there. I don't know how I want to do that, but I think it's time I do something with the subs. But guys, I'm going to get on out of here. When this thing is uploaded and done, I'm going to go back, and as I said, I'm going to timestamp it all in the description. You can watch everything. If you're one of my subs, toss Redneck a follow. He is by far one of the realest guys you're going to meet on Twitter and YouTube. He tells it like it is. He don't blow smoke up your ass. And I, as a tech guy and as just somebody breaking into this whole social media thing, appreciate that for damn sure.
Oh, I appreciate you. Looking forward to the future events and all the discussions, Jay.
Yeah, me too. You have a good night because it's late there, and I'm going to go eat some dinner that's very cold.
Take care, guys.
All right, guys. I'm going to shut this down. I'll see you later. Thanks, Redneck.
Hey, bye.
Okay, that's off. That was